everyone, my name is Cheri and you are in my stamp studio. Today I'm going to show you a Christmas card. It is a part 2 if you watched my video that posted yesterday. Yesterday I used the Cuckoo for You and I made a little Oktoberfest card. Although the stamp set is, it has images that can be used all year round. And if you take away the cuckoo clock, you can do fall cards and Christmas cards and Easter cards, all kinds of cards with it. But I did do an Oktoberfest themed card. It could also just be a fall card. And the fun thing about the card I made yesterday, it's a little interactive card. So you can have a little, your cuckoo, of course, pops out because all good cuckoo clocks should have the cuckoo pop out, right? But the reason I wanted to... Well, the reason I used this set was because when I pulled out this set that I'm going to use today, the dies that go with this, that cut this out, are the same dies that cut out today's set. This set is in Stampin' Up's annual catalog that's good until the end of May 2020. The stamp set that I'm going to use today is a gingerbread house. It's called Yummy Christmas. And it is a gingerbread house. But the dies, it's so clever. So the dies that cut it out, you can see the gingerbread and the cuckoo clock are the same pattern. And then you can see, of course, the trees are the same. Then the hollyberry and the moose. Let me pull the die out here. You can see the die that cuts out the hollyberry also cuts out, I don't know if it's a moose or if it's a reindeer. Whatever it is, it cuts out the same one. Then the little clock dial that cuts out the clock, if you want to make your clock spin, cuts out the peppermint. The die that cuts out the door cuts out our little migraine medicine. I have actually taken an extra dose of migraine medicine today, so I'm going to stumble on my words. I'm going to get it, you know, words you don't use very often when you take this kind of migraine medicine. Sometimes they're at a loss. A gumdrop. So it's a really clever little way that they have used the dies. So if you buy this out of the annual catalog with the dies, then you do get the bundle discount. Or you can just buy this and just buy the dies, but you're going to need them both because just look how adorable those are. So today I'm going to do the gingerbread house card. And if you watched the video for this, I decided to kind of, it's not the exact same layout, but kind of stay with the same kind of theme at least. So yesterday I went with a retro kind of travel vintage look with it. Today I've gone all for Christmas colors. I'm a fan of non-traditional Christmas colors, but for the gingerbread I just decided let's just go Christmas colors. So we have a white background, and the same reason that I did yesterday, I'm going to stamp my images on white because I want today the frosting. Yesterday I wanted those little daisies and stuff on my gingerbread on the cuckoo clock to stay white. Today I want the frosting to be white. So it's easier to color everything else and then have it be white. So the only actually thing that I'm using on today's card that's not white as far as cardstock is this little strip of red glimmer paper, and it's part of our Let It Snow suite that's in the holiday catalog. So I have this piece here, and on the cuckoo clock I ran it through a black piece through the wood grain. Today I'm going to run that through the brick. So let's stamp. The other fun thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to use a whole lot of the fun sparklies and snowy things that are in the holiday catalog. So we're going to use all of them. Everything that's in there except for the snow sequins. Not going to use those because there was no way those would go in the snow shaker thing. And this isn't a shaker card, but I think everything else that's in there, we're going to smuck it on here. So let's ink up our gingerbread house. And again, when I colored this, I have very few colors of blends. And when I did the cuckoo clock yesterday, I was trying to go for, it's a big stamp. You can use your paper piercing pad if you want. It gives a little bit better impression. Mine's laying over there, but there we're good. And because I've already used this once, it's inked well. And I need 2 trees, but when I colored yesterday's, I wanted it to be like a vintage travel poster. I've mounted these blocks kind of funny, the stamps. And today, you know, it's a gingerbread cookie. It's also kind of a 70s look card. So the colors, I wanted them to be nice and flat. There's no blending again, and I wanted minimal colors. So I have 2 of the trees. The trees that are in the Cuckoo Clock set don't have the snow and the decorations, but you could mix them if you wanted to add some regular forest trees to this. Now the gumdrop, I remember the name now. I just have a piece of scrap paper here because of the way I've mounted my stamps. So one gumdrop here, they're all going to get cut out, so it doesn't really matter where I put them. Gumdrop here. This is why I have scrap, because I mounted these funky. And then I want 2 of the peppermints. 1, 2. And then the last thing that I want, and this is just going to go on the inside of my card, is the holly berries. So I just need 1 of these. So the only color that I chose for my, oops, I have to stamp the inside of my card. Let's go ahead and do that now, and the outside. So here, these are the pieces that I'm going to run through my die cutting machine. Here's the front of our card, and the set comes with a fun little icing border. So let's add that to the bottom of the front of our card. And always do anything like this first, because if you mess up, it can become the back of your card. And people will just think, oh, look, she decorated the back of the card. Not well, but she decorated it. So that way, if you mess up or this goes a little crooked, you can just finish it off and then flip it over and do it again. But if you've already stamped your inside, then you don't have that option. So there's one little icing border, squish your paper over. And we don't need the whole thing stamped again. And I just got ink on my hand, which is great, you know, when you're working on a white piece of cardstock. So just match these up as best you can. We're going to add some glitter over them, so I knew there's a little bit of an overstamp. Wipe my finger off. And then the set does come with some fun Christmas words. So I have chosen, it says, well, we're going to stamp it first and see what it says because I can't remember which one. Wishing you a Christmas. So we're going to do that in black on the inside. It's a clever way that they've mounted these. So see, this just says wishing you a Christmas. And then they have my real red. And then they have some fun little insert words that go with their sayings. So I picked happy. Wishing you a happy Christmas. That's a, always makes me feel like I'm in Australia because they tend to say happy Christmas as opposed to merry a lot. So now we have 2 colors and it's easy and you don't have to worry about spacing them because they've spaced them for you on your first one. Okay, so now we have this. I'm stacking things kind of precariously over here. So here's the colors that I went with. I have a light and dark suede, and then I have darks of spruce, dark call me clover, and dark real red blends. Because like I said, I'm not going to do any blending. I just want the color. So let's go with the call me clover, and then here on our little frosting border, you could leave it all white if you wanted. I just wanted my glitter to show up a little bit better. So I'm just going to color in the little scallops here. And again, not a whole lot of, you don't have to spend a ton of time because you're not blending. You're just adding the color. One of the reasons that you would want to choose your blends over your Stampin' Write, one, it gives a much more solid look. You know, if you color with your Stampin' Writes, you tend to get the lines, especially on a giant image. Like on this, it would be fine. It would be fine on this until you went to add your glue and your glitter. When you added the glue, the Stampin' Writes could run. And it's not pretty to have smeary glue. But when you do a big image like the gingerbread house here, when you do Stampin' Right, you see the lines. That's one of the huge advantages to the blends as opposed to Stampin' Right. So for most of my coloring, I used the bullet tips. I think the only time I used my brush tips was to color my gumdrops. You see, with the migraine medicine, once you have the word's there. It's just, I don't say the word gumdrop very often. So you're just coloring as quick as you can. You just want a nice even coat. And the more you go over back and forth something, the more that it has a chance that it's going to show lines. So I basically just colored, I have one already finished for you, solid colors. So here it is finished. So you can see it's just all nice and solid. Again, I was going 70s Hallmark kind of look, if you had their stuff. And it's very minimal colors. So let's cut these out. Let's pull our machine over here. Well, first, I have my folder in here. I should probably stand up because if you watched my video yesterday, you saw I struggled when I did these dies sitting down. So this is the brick. This is one of our new plates. You want to make sure it's going brick this way because you don't want your bricks going up and down. And you want, it's a blue plate and it goes crease through. So I have just written that on washi tape, partly to remind myself and mostly to remind the ladies that come to the classes in my home. Because we have so many different configurations now. And if you don't send your plates through with a crease, you stand a chance of snapping them. But look how fun that is. And we'll just add a nice little texture to the back of that. So now let's switch over to our cutting. I'm going to go ahead and cut some of these apart because we don't need to do it all in one fell swoop, even though it's easier to stamp that way and it's much easier to color this way. But then when it comes to cutting, it's easier if they're kind of cut apart. They don't have to be all cut apart, but we'll get that house off of there. So on this first go around, let's get, we have the holly. And again, you don't want to do too many at a time because the more you put, and then if they move, then you just have to reset them all. So make sure everything's lined up here so you don't get it all lined up and then have to move them. Stuck. And then we'll get a tree. It's going to take 3 passes no matter what we do, so there's no reason to try to jam them all on here because you're not going to get them all at once anyway. Okay, and then take your top. And then to keep them from not moving, the best thing is to go flat down and then grab it. And then hold on to it with your hands as you send it through. Because if you let go of it and this pops up, that's when they all move. And that's why a lot of you think that you need washi tape or you think that you need the magnetic platform. And also just send it through once. Because if you send it through back, you can see they've kind of lifted up. And if I'd send it through again, they would squish over a little bit. And one time is more than enough. Look how completely adorable those are. Super cute. Okay, we're done with that one. Send this back through. And again, make sure that everything's lined up because if they're like this and you line them all up and then you have to adjust this, that's when your dies move. You don't want them to move. Okay, this time we will get the gumdrop. Okay, and again, you're going to put this down and smash and hold. Don't let go of it once you've dropped it, because once you drop it and then you let go a little bit and it raises back up, then the static and just the touching and the lifting, that's when your dies move. more gumdrop. We're done with the tree. Send it back through again. We'll put all this up here. Put all that scrap paper up so it's going through there. So we'll do the gumdrop. The peppermint. And then our cuckoo clock. Now don't tell me that that's not just the most clever thing ever. And you can see that I've stamped too close, so don't try to jam it. Just cut it apart. Since I've already got my scissors up here, I'm going to go ahead and cut all this apart too. Straight into the bin. Sometimes my bin's right at my feet, and other times I'm like, I have no idea where I've moved the thing. It's over by my paper cutter, and then I just accumulate a mess of scrap paper. Get those all lined up on there. And again, you want to make sure as it goes down that you hold it. And see this one, this time I didn't put it on very straight, so I might have to do it again. It moved a little bit, but I got it. And the nice thing about this card is they're white pieces mounted on a white background, so as long as I'm not cutting into my design, if they're a little crooked, it doesn't matter as much. But on my other cuckoo clock, because it was white mounted on black, if you had too much of a outline that was crooked, you noticed it. Which on a couple of mine, if you look close on the pictures, when I was struggling because I didn't stand up, there was a lot of cutting on that, you can see. Super cute. How cute are those? So, so cute. These would be really cute, like if you do pictures with Santa to make little frames, if you do some kind of a Christmas party, and you could make little, well, there's the thing from yesterday. It must have been stuck to the bottom of my machine. But if you do little goodie bags or something, there's so many ways that you could decorate these. Okay, now let's look. We have the ice stamping glitter. Look how pretty this is. We're going to use all these. Super, super sparkly. And we have the Shimmery Crystal Effects. And we have the Snowfall Accents Puff Paint. These are all in the annual, in the holiday catalog. And there's a couple of hints with all of them. So here's what I found worked best. First, we're going to go ahead and just mount the inside of our card so it's done. So we have the little wishing you a happy Christmas. And we'll just stick that in there. So now our inside's done. I did think about trimming this and putting that down there, but I really didn't need it. Okay, so we're going to put some glitter here. I used my fine tip glue. And ladies, when you open this, this piece comes off. I see lots of people do this wrong. So this piece comes off, and then that makes this easier to put on. Don't take it, like some people take too much of it off. And I'm just going to put it in my green bits because I want to be able to see all of it. So just add a little bit of glue. And right there where I had the overstamp, I'm going to cover that up with some glue. The fine tip glue comes with a thing that's really easy for you young ladies to use, and those of us that wear bifocals, not so much. And you stick the top back in and it never dries up. But it is harder for us, those of us with bifocals, to get it in there. I don't know why I'm doing it now. It's a habit. Okay, now we're going to take a piece of scrap paper, which y'all know that I have a calendar because they sent me two last year, and I wanted to return it, and they said just keep it, and you know, who needs two of all the same dates? So just add this to the fine tip glue. And how pretty is this? Super pretty and sparkly. And then we're going to do it to our gumdrops. So everything that had the same, do it at the same time. So there's gumdrops, they're the big ones that we cut out. And you don't need a ton of glue. And there's a couple of little gumdrops on here. Sometimes the fine tip glue gets a bubble, but when the glitter hits it, it pops them, which is nice. Look how cute. Just gonna lift these up, kind of knock off the excess. Oops. And then I'm going to take my trees. Maybe, if I can pick them up. And I want some on the tree part, but not where the snow is going to be, because we're going to add snow to that. And I don't want so much that it's going to cover up my design. It is see-through, so you can see the design through it. Just, oops, wrong bottle. Just kind of hold it at the very tip top, and then you can get up there enough. I'm just kind of drawing a squiggle, just enough that it'll hold some pieces. It's chunky glitter. Super pretty. And then when you're done, just everything that fell onto your scrap paper, just put it back in your thing. So that's it for our glitter. And again, it's called Ice Stampin' Glitter, and it's in the holiday catalog. Then we're going to do our puff paint. Now, the puff paint, if you've watched my snowman video, this is not like puff paint that we used to have. It's super, super runny. So you have to be really, really careful when you work with it. Now, the places that I want puff paint are the places where it would be frosting on my gingerbread house and frosting on my cookie. So when you frost a gingerbread house, if you've made one, you know you frosted every place where you want your thing to be held together, and any place where you're kind of going for the snow look, because that's where you put your frosting. I'll put my lid back on that in a minute. I don't know why I put the lid on and then I realized I needed to take it off. That was just a waste of time. It's habit. So see, it comes out a ton. So go the first time, go for your big spot, because when you first tip it over, it just comes, a lot of it comes out. And then just kind of move it around. And you don't really need to squeeze it anymore. You may eventually need to once it kind of stops working its way out of here, but just enough that it's going to cover. So let's get all the frosting places. And like when you do the gingerbread house, I mean the gingerbread guy, he's got frosting on him, but you don't want it, because when it puffs up, it gets bigger. So if you put too much, it's going to totally cover your design. So it's kind of a feel. Over here on the sides where it's frosting that's big, and like right here, you can go a little bit bigger on those. But any place where you have a design, don't do too much. Just kind of push it and then, you know, drag it. And we've all done those kind of things before, even with real frosting. So on the windows. Again, here I'm using these big places to give it another squeeze when it kind of starts to run dry. And then here. And this window. The trickiest place is really his little hands, because you don't want to cover up his hands. Then around our wreath. And then I just added some here to the shingles where I had the white cardstock that was like kind of cut out. Because there isn't really any white on there, but you know, especially if a kid decorates your gingerbread house, there's going to be frosting on the roof. Okay, let's get our trees over here. Oops, you can see where that dripped because I moved it. So I'm going to have a little bit of snow on my trunk. You can see how fast it's coming out because I'd squeezed before I moved on. So there's that one. So you can see the first time you temp it over, you get a lot. On the trees, there's a little bit more give, but you don't really need to squeeze past that first one. Okay, so that's it for our snow. Now I have found that I think it works better if you let it just sit a second before you heat it up. So I'm going to move that aside and then go back to our card. That's why I have all this scrap. On the other side is from where I did it before. Okay, and then I'm going to take the red glimmer paper. This is already dry, the glitter. And then the Shimmery Crystal Effects takes a while to dry. So I'm going to mount my card all together and then add it at the end and let it dry on the card. So just add this right down here. And then I have some dimensionals. I think I'll just add this straight to the card. I can't remember how I did it the first time, but I think flat to the card will be fine. And that red just gives a nice little highlight down there. Okay, now let's heat this up. Grab your bone folder, and you're going to want to use it to hold on to things so they don't blow away. So I'm going to move these two out of the way. And do my house first. Well, I would have if it had been plugged in, but it's not plugged in. So hang on a second while I plug my gun in. My phone was uncharged. My charger was unplugged too. Somebody must have been using my... So get your gun a little bit warm, especially if you have any places on here where too much came out. And then once your gun is warm, then put it on. Otherwise, if it's runny and you put it on there, and see, then it puffs up. And I find letting it dry just a minute helps with it not run all over your card, but just puff where you put it. Because we all just need puff where we put it. Nobody wants puff where you didn't put it. And just kind of make sure you hit each spot, just like you do with embossing. It works better if you aim in this spot and you don't wave it all around your card. Okay, so now we've got those. I'm going to move one of these over at a time. The nice thing is, once it's kind of heated, then a little bit of that sticks to the paper. No, my gumdrops just flew away. Hopefully I can find it. It wasn't a gumdrop, it was a peppermint, because I only see one peppermint. Here's one. I don't know where I saw it blow. I don't know. We may have only one peppermint on this card. There it is. Okay, so now we have all of the pieces, and as soon as this cools off, then like you could press it, you could put it in an envelope and you would be good. So now we're going to use the Crystal Effects, but because it does take time for it to dry, I'm going to put everything on my card, and then I'm going to add the Crystal Effects. So I'm going to use this, and you can see where this is, that's why it stopped blowing, where it touches itself to the scrap paper. That's why you want to do it on some scrap and kind of connect, sticks itself. But it's already like kind of hard. I wouldn't smash anything on it at first. So let's get our gingerbread house. So we can put him in the middle. And then once it's all the way cool, you can put this in an envelope and mail it. And when the recipient gets it, it's still going to be puffy. So put this in the middle. And then let's do our trees. And I just got puff paint on my hands that's laying there. And these are just flat. Everything's flat now except for our peppermints. And I didn't want these to be even, so just kind of put them on there. And then we will do our gumdrops. And then we'll do our peppermints. Okay, now we're going to add the shimmery crystal effects, and I wanted it to be on everything that would be a hard candy. And this is much, much thicker. So you've gone from working with something that was super, super thin to something that's thick. So let it work itself down to the bottom, and as soon as it starts coming out, then you're good to go. So just give it like you want it to be raised up, and to get any of the sparkle out, like you can't go, you have to go twice as much as what you went on the snow. So it's one extreme to the other. Because if you just do a little bit, you're not going to get any of the shimmer. It has to be enough that it's creating a 3D kind of effect. And when it dries, I will have close-up pictures of this on my website. So you can see how pretty it looks. It does make it look like real candy. So I'm going to add it to the peppermints up here. That's a little piece that's kind of sticking. My hands are already so dirty that I might as well just get some more on it. I think it's whenever you do a white-based card, your hands just gravitate to all the messy. Oh, we should do a hashtag all the messy. There we go. So I'm kind of pushing in the middle of the card, in the middle of the peppermint, and then kind of letting it fill it up, and then I stretch it off. And then on my candy cane. And again, you want to do it big enough that it gives a 3D effect. This is why it takes a minute for it to dry. And then on my original sample, I have done all those little red hots that are on the wreath. It reminds me of those Rice Krispie wreaths. But it's kind of hard to get it all on there without the little stringies coming off. So I don't think you need it. So just stick to your peppermints. The larger areas are easier to get. There we go. And then you would just set that aside to dry. And there's some sparkly fun. You can see I got a little bit of overkill on my puff paint on my trees. But you can pick it up. And part of the reason you can pick this one up is because it's on top of my glitter. You You couldn't do it if it was on the regular cardstock, but because I had that glitter underneath, you can lift that up if you think it's too much. So here's this one. Here's my original card where I did add some more. I will tell you I changed a couple of the colors. On this one, I went to a darker green. On this one, I had a lighter green, and I knew I wanted to change it. This is about dry. It's been probably, well, the amount of time I filmed this video and probably 15 minutes in between. So the crystal effects is now drying, but you can see on those little red hots, you don't really need it. But the sparkle is starting to come through now that the other stuff's drying. So I hope you like it. You can tell I did a much better job on those trees. So when you see this online later in a picture, I may have peeled my good trees off and replaced them with these trees because, you know, I can. They're my cards. So I hope you like it. It's super fun.